Let me share this out. Mhm. Okay, and I need to change the header. I'll do that. Ah, recording a new episode.
Just testing. You can still hear?
Ooh, that sounds a lot better.
Great. Okay, good. Yeah, these were like the first recordings back from vacation. And of course, like everything is going to go south.
uh, okay. So for a second, I was like, I hope I sent that on my account and not the Redwood account. That would be my luck. Let's see, what were you talking about? Okay, so I saw the other day that, or somebody had posted something about bento, and I thought this is the perfect use case for Dia because I can open up bento in one tab, resend in the other tab, and have it kind of just evaluate it for me because I was curious, but I didn't want to take the time to look at the API, figure out all the feature set, figure out pricing. And I was like, I just want a quick snapshot. So I pulled it up. It worked great. And I was like, okay, this is the use case for it. But the amount of times that I do that in the week is not much. And so I just have a hard time. And like skills sounds really interesting where I'm like, hey, just do this thing for me. That sounds really interesting. But I don't think I have that many things in my life right now. And I just need more use cases than chat with a browser tab. Because that's not how I use the internet. And if I do want a summary, I just pull up Raycast and say, hey, summarize the page that I pulled up right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another reason why I'm not buying into like a ton of these things. Because I feel like it's here one day, gone the next, you know? Like,
Mhm.
look at what just happened to windsurf. Right?
The
That's not good for
crazy.
its future.
Well, did you see it did get acquired by um
Cognitive,
yes, I
cog
was trying to think.
something.
It's
Yeah.
the company that has Devon.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And like I just feel for okay, so for anybody who's listening that's like, what are you talking about? I think Google, is that Google? No, or no, OpenAI was going to acquire Windsurf. They changed their mind, and I don't know if the mind shift change happened in their evaluation or the fact that the CEO went over to work at Google with Gemini. And so it's like, was that a talent acquire situation? I don't know. But then like they said, okay, we're not going to acquire them. And so now they're being acquired by another company. So I love that for the 250 people that were kind of left behind and in the crosshairs of all that. But it's like, that'll be interesting to see what happens. So,
Yeah, for sure. And it's not like an editor's was gonna live on its own as a product. I feel like you have to get rolled up into something bigger. And this is
well,
why I still think, like, VS Code will win in the end because
I
they
was gonna
have,
say
like,
it's
stuff
a
backing it.
fork. It's a fork of VS Code. So you're still
Yeah,
reliant on VS Code. So that just
yeah,
makes it hard when you're like, we're just building on top of another thing. If VS Code decides one day, like, hey, we're not going to let anybody fork anything from here on out, they're going to have to develop all their own browser features. So, or sorry, their code editor features. And what's interesting is Zed, which I haven't really used, but we have some friends that have used it. And one of the things that they said was Zed is great, but is it Zed? Am I saying that right? It is
Zed, yeah,
Zed,
yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah, I get Zed and Zen mixed up. So crazy. So, but Zed doesn't have the plugin marketplace. you get with VS Code and everything else. And I was like, well, that's half of the value for me is these plugins that I'm using in terms of
Yeah,
workflows and muscle memory. Is I just run a plugin for that. So it's like when you're evaluating these things, the community is half of it.
for sure. And you get so entrenched in your editor, everything has to be
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. Interesting. Have you used so I know you were evaluating. Actually, do we want to get into that yet?
Yeah, well, save that for the show for sure.
Okay. Let's go ahead and just start. I see a few people post comments, people that are watching. All right. Let me cue up the music. They've changed all the things since last time. There we are. Okay.
Really? SteamYard has updates?
Yeah, they've done tons of updates. I logged in and it was like, look at all these things. And usually I just blow past the while you were gone, we launched these things. Usually I just like whatever, I'll figure it out. But I like clicked through them. I was like, these are actually really good. Some of it I wonder if it's to compete more with like Riverside. So like Riverside, you have more ability to like control somebody's levels. So I could make you a lot louder, make you I think I can mute you now if I
Yeah.
wanted to.
Oh, nice.
So, all right, well, we'll jump into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Compressed FM, a podcast all about web design and development with a little bit of zest. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about where do we go as developers from here, whether that's the job market, whether that's AI, whether that's Cloudflare features, whether it's the framework wars, all the things. Where do we go?
Web development and design, who would have guessed? Well, we can do them both, even add a little zest. So turn up the volume, get ready for the best. Let's get it started in this episode of Compress.
Hello, my name is Amy Dutton. I am a lead developer on the Redwood JS core team.
And hey, y'all, my name is Brad Garapi. I am a senior systems engineer at Cloudflare. That's the official title.
What? My title is not official. I said I'm a lead engineer. I am engineering on the Redwood team, but I don't write framework code. So that's like major props to Justin on our team that does all that. But that's a change since the last time we recorded. So congratulations.
That's a change. I mean, I think that shows how long we've not recorded an episode. So it's good
Yeah.
to be back. Yeah, I got a new job. I work at Cloudflare now. A plus, 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's been amazing since I've joined.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good to hear. So have you seen the wall with all the lava lamps?
That one is overseas somewhere. I think London or
Oh.
Lisbon. We have in Austin, like they call it like the refracting circles, where there's a bunch of like multicolored circles hanging down, and based on how the light passes through them, they have a camera on that, which is all random.
That's so cool. So for
Yeah.
anybody that did not know, Cloudflare has this thing, and it sounds like in Europe they have lava lamps where that will determine like some randomizing key for security. So pretty
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah. And they have like one at each office, and so I think they use them all independently.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then, man, I need to actually solve this riddle, but they have a wall of boots in the Austin office, and if the boot is facing left, it's a 0, and if it's facing right, it's a 1, and if you just, like, turn it into the ASCII code, I think it says something, and I still haven't done it, but I really need to.
That's awesome. I wonder if you could take a picture and have AI figure it out
Ask
for you.
AI. Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so like while we're still talking about Cloudflare, they had a big Cloudflare day a couple weeks ago. What were some of the highlights from Cloudflare Day?
Dude, actually, yeah, 2 weeks ago, we announced, kind of like a new internet economy is what he was calling it. Um, they called everybody into the office at, like, midnight. They were gonna do this midnight launch party. They were gonna do it from New York City because we just got a new office on like, the top floor of the World Trade Center, something
Oh
crazy.
wow.
And we made this announcement that basically said, "We can now track when AI is trying to crawl your website, and if you enable this, we're gonna respond with the HTTP code that means payment required." I think it's 402 or 403 or something like that.
Mhm.
And so you can turn that on and not give them the content of your website if you want to. And then hopefully, maybe
Interesting.
in the future, browsers will maybe start supporting this, or like, applications will handle this where they'll
Yeah.
redirect you to a payment screen or something like that. So the whole idea is that publishing companies now can protect their content
Mm.
from AI and even monetize it to those types of, that type of consumption.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because I was thinking in my head, like, do I want to be excluded from AI? Because part of me is like, yes, I like being the one in control of that situation, but I also wanna make sure I'm coming up in recommendations for AI, that I'm not just, like, in the dark. Because 'Cause I've heard, like,
Yeah.
we picked our, fall break trip for my kids based on AI. So my husband Henry went to ChatGPT and said, "We love camping, but we hate all the cooking and the prep work that you have to do for camping. We love cruises, but we're kinda sick of doing the Caribbean. What recommendations do you have?" And they suggested a dude ranch. So we're going to a dude ranch in Arizona.
A dude ranch. This
Yeah.
sounds right up my alley. Oh, what do you do at a dude ranch?
Well, there's a lot of horse riding, so we'll do
Okay.
that. But there's also, like, watercolor classes and jewelry making, which my girls are really excited about, and it sounds like they just have a lot of different family activities that you can do together. So, I'm looking forward just to doing something different, and
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be memorable for the kids.
Yeah. Man, speaking about trips, my wife and I just got back from a 10-year anniversary trip where we were in Mexico for a whole week,
That's
no
awesome.
kids. It was bliss.
Yeah. I love my kids, and I also love traveling without them.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Um,
did, Isla Mujeres for 4 days, this really nice, like, kind of boutique hotel there, and then we did 3 days in Playa del Carmen, which we didn't love the hotel there, but the city was
okay.
really cool.
That's awesome. Now you're going to New York, or have you been already?
No, we swapped the New York trip for the beach trip.
Oh,
After
got
the whole
it.
job transition thing, we were just like, "That was so stressful. Let's just go to the beach instead." So, this whole spring has been like a whirlwind of, like, stuff going on.
Okay. I missed that. I thought you were getting double trips.
Yes. No, oh, and add one more thing to the mix, our dog had puppies.
She did. How many puppies?
So 4 boys and 1 girl, and I
Oh.
think we're gonna be able to see them today for the first time.
Oh, that's awesome. Now you have the option to keep one of the puppies, right?
From the 2nd litter, I believe. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we've been kicking that around. We might be like, "Hey, brother-in-law, do you want it? Does your family want it?" Because then we can kinda, like,
Uh,
lean on each other for dog sitting or whatever.
ye
It's good to have, like, people with dogs in the family who get it.
yes, yes, for sure. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, that's what a great program that you
Yeah.
can, I mean, do you wanna explain it for people that don't know or
Yeah.
haven't heard?
So, like, the gist is, we have a golden doodle, and golden doodles usually have to, like, purchase, but we enrolled in this guardian program where, it's our dog, but she kind of owes the breeder 2 litters, essentially. So she'll go through, have 2 rounds of babies, the breeder will get to keep those, but in return, we get, like, free dog sitting, um, we get to keep one of the babies, we get a couple $100 every time she has a litter, so it's been, like, a really good arrangement.
That
And
is
we just thought
awesome.
it would kinda, like, teach the kids about, the circle of life and all that kinda
Yeah,
stuff.
that's awesome. I'd do that.
Yeah.
I was trying to think. So we have a retired racing greyhound. She's just getting old now. And then we have a King Charles Cavalier. So
Awesome.
he's
Yeah.
he gives me grief at least when we go for a walk, but inside he's super sweet. So um cool. Okay, I was trying to look at our outline here. Um so we were talking, I'm gonna kind of backtrack a little bit. We were talking about Cloudflare, talking about their announcement day. I'm curious, as you've been doing more, like, with Cloudflare, have you experimented more with, like, MCP servers? Like, how important is that with Cloudflare stuff?
So that whole, like, AI branch of the business is driving things forward. They're kind
Okay.
of even calling internally for like, "Yo, we gotta get on this right now. Like, this is a big deal. We wanna push the business forward in this area." Not only in the MCP stuff, but it was this whole AI pay per crawl thing that is a big deal. Um, So lots of movement internally. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Cloudflare is like we seem to be on the forefront of stuff
Mhm.
every time we're making announcements, every time we're putting out features. So it makes it really fun to work there. Now,
Yeah.
I'll say, my project isn't one of those projects, but it still is in the limelight. If you've ever used the dashboard and hated the side navigation, don't worry, we're fixing it, and it's so much better. Like, we're
Really.
about to release to internal preview, and it feels really good.
I wanna ask you questions, but I don't think you could probably answer them.
Actually, they were very I was, like, saying, "Oh, I should tweet about this and see what people think," and they're like, "Please do." So, they're
Oh,
pretty, open about a lot of
that's
this stuff
awesome.
because it's hard to measure, like, customer satisfaction with something like
Mhm.
this. We do have, like, a share feedback button, but, you never know what you're gonna get.
Sure. Now, am I gonna get projects? That's really all I want.
It's not coming now, but it
Okay.
is on our, product
Roadmap.
team's mind. It's like,
Sweet.
we wanna get there.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
So, for anybody that is listening, since I am on the Redwood JS core team, our new version of Redwood SDK is all built on top of Cloudflare services. So, even though I don't work at Cloudflare, I've become a huge fan of everything that they have to offer. And I think my one beef is just the fact that they don't have projects. So, if I want the databases, I've got to go to the databases tab and I see all the projects that I've added and all the databases. Same for R2 storage. I go to R2, I see all the buckets. Or I go to my domains, I see all the domains. Or I go to my workers and pages and I see all the different sites that I've set up. So if I could just like stay within the context of a single project, that would be amazing.
I know there is something and of course, like, I don't know exactly where it is in the UI, but there's something that kind of shows you a diagram of all the bindings that you have in your
Oh,
application. It
interesting.
kinda, like, looks at your worker's
Yeah.
config file, and it, like, shows you, "Okay, here's your worker, here's the database it's connected to, here are the queues or KV it's connected to," and it makes this
Interesting.
nice little, like, flow graph.
Yeah.
So it does help you understand some architecture, but it doesn't, like, necessarily co-locate all of those, like,
Sure.
uh, settings or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So with Redwood, we are getting ready to announce a thing today, which I've worked on. It's kind of exciting. You go to shareware.dev, and I'll include a link. So this is really just the beginning. I'm really excited about this whole concept. Trying to grab a link really quick. So if anybody remembers back in the day of early internet development, there was a thing called shareware where you could share code that you wrote. And the idea with this website is really kind of bringing that back, and that right now, the only way to kind of write code on the net and make money is if you like create an application, then you have a SaaS, or you're working for somebody and creating contract work. Well, what if you just want to kind of like WordPress development? What if you want to create a plugin and sell that to somebody? That doesn't really exist exactly in serverless world. When you're working with React, it's pretty prevalent with maybe Laravel, definitely like Expression Engine or WordPress or some of these more content management type systems, but trying to provide something like that for Redwood developers. So we're launching with 3 different add-ons. One is a change log. So the idea with a lot of these add-ons is if you do have a SaaS, what are all the things that you need to be able to get up and running, and then you can focus more on the core features of your product. So there's a change log there if you're trying to communicate the updates that you're making. There's passkey auth. So if you just want to drop that into your application. And then there's also a blog, which if you like Astro's blog, this is built on the exact same technology. I didn't realize that Astro's stuff is built on top of content collections, which is a library that's not Astro specific. So anyways, we've
No
integrated
way,
Redwood
really?
project.
Like, we could just take content collections and use it. Oh, that's
Yes, here.
awesome, I didn't know that.
I'll I'll include a link to that, and share that as well. There we
Um,
go.
okay, one of the things I was cruising this earlier, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. It kind of almost reminds me of, like, Gatsby plugins,
Mhm.
but what I'm really interested in is, like, okay, when you install something, is it a is it like another service, like, let's say, deployed to a new worker, or does this go and, like, modify your existing code base? How does it actually integrate?
Yeah, so these modify your existing code base and it really just uses AI. So the idea is like anybody can submit an add-on. There's a form on the site where you can create code and submit it. And the README for your project in GitHub gets sucked up into the shareware.dev, and those are your install instructions. So if I wanted to install the blog feature, I could look at that README and just follow the directions all the way through. But if you look at the top, there's actually a prompt there that says, hey, set your set cursor to agent mode, and then just run this prompt. And what that does is within
Wow.
cursor, it'll basically run the curl command to read the README, and then it'll walk through each of the steps and install the blog. So what this does is you have a pre-existing Redwood SDK project, and then it is going to dump all the stuff for add-ons into your project. But we tried to like co-locate that so everything stays really within a single folder, so that if you're like, oh, I installed this blog, I could roll back my GitHub history, my Git history, which is probably the easiest, but you could also just delete that file. So one of the things that we've been working on, and there's not really an example. No, I guess Passkeys is an example of this, is that it creates a durable object with a database inside. So, and that's just running SQLite, so that it's really not even messing with your project's D1 database. So really, if you did want to uninstall it, it's not going to mess up any of your existing content structures. But that script, what it's doing is it's going through and adjusting your wrangler.json C file. It's going to install any extra packages, your packages.json file, all those things. So it's just following instructions, really, which is pretty great. And the reason that we're using AI is because with scripts are great because you can move quickly, but I can't account for every single permutation of a specific project. Or if you've installed Tailwind and your project needs Tailwind, if I'm running a script, I have to either check for all of that, or maybe you didn't put the stuff where I'm expecting it to look. You get 2 installations, whatever. AI is generally pretty good about recognizing, oh, you already have this within your project. I don't need to do these things.
That is awesome. Kent C. Dodds did a very similar thing in Epic Stack where like when you ever like clone a template, um, you can't really like get additional updates in the future. And
Mhm.
so what Kent did was a very similar thing where he was looking at his change log, and he was using agents to kind of like apply the
Oh,
changes
interesting.
to the code base to kind of roll forward or back inside of the history of the stack.
So smart. So smart.
Yeah. Well, okay, this is a really good segue into, agents and AI and stuff.
Yeah.
At Cloudflare, the company has kind of been pushing AI usage. And like, look, developers are already pretty much doing this, right? But like the management chain is starting to get involved because the company wants to fund a tool. And so we've had some like kind of cringy presentations a little bit, but at the same time, they're going to put some money up. They're going to foot the bill for some tools for us. And give us a choice between Windsurf and Claude Code. And of course, I was pushing for Claude Code. Everybody gets a vote and stuff, and I was kind of trying to convince my team to go with Claude Code. And this is right about the time where the Windsurf news came out, and I was like, I knew it. I knew it. Like these editors, I feel like all these VS Code forks are just not gonna be here for the long run. And Claude Code just seems so flexible. You can stick it in your VS Code. You can use it as a terminal. You can install MCP tools. Like this is kind of your catch-all. This is like the foundational tool for like kind of integrating with your system. And so it'll probably take more setup and adjustments to your workflow, but I think it's going to be more powerful in the long run. I have this
Yes.
idea, like the next hackathon we get, I'm going to try this. I'm going to build, if we don't already have one, an MCP server for our Jira server to like fetch my tickets. And I'm going to build another one for like our GitLab server, which is like, put up a PR or whatever. And I want to see if I can just give the agent, like, what are my tickets? Let's work on this one today.
Mhm.
Go and see if it can actually go through the process. And, spend a lot of time prompt engineering it by saying, we're going to make a PRD first and we're going to review it,
Mhm.
because the ticket probably has no information. And I'm going to tell you more about it. We're going to go back and forth, and then we're going to get to the end. And like, just like a live pair programmer almost, and that session, I'm assuming, is gonna take, like, a long time, But I mean, if you give it enough feedback as you're going, you could kind of just work together with this thing to get your job done.
So this is exciting. I need to find an official link for this. One of the things that Peter's been working on is this thing called Machinin. Have you seen this?
Machine it. No.
It's
How do you
okay,
spell that?
machine, letter N. And
Machine N. Oh,
part of it is because it's like the idea of pick a number in,
right.
like however many machines you want in,
Right.
like you
Right.
have them. And
You
so,
yes, you launch as many agents as you could work on 10
yep,
tickets in parallel. Just open
yep.
a new terminal or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the idea is you have your Redwood project and then you can spin up these different machines. So like for example, with these add-ons, if I want to add a blog, a change log, I'm working on a testimonial add-on, I'm working on a suggest add-on where you can vote on features, like all these things. If you want to add that to your project, what you can do is then take Machina and say add, and you spin up as many machines for tasks. It doesn't even have to be add-ons related. It could be, I'm going to spin up like 10 servers for 10 tickets. And
Right.
each server is going to create exactly what you're talking about. It's going to create a branch with the PR, and you can go in and review it and approve it and merge it back in. But
Yep.
it's an interface for being able to really manage all of these machines. So it's pretty exciting. I'll try and find a link because I know he's been good about talking about it on Twitter. Or maybe that's probably just the best place is to send people to his Twitter account or
Yeah.
X
That's
account.
that's the problem right now, right? Like we've got this notion of agents at the bare bones level, which they all just run in a terminal process. And you can like stop them and look at all the prompts or even open up like let's say your editor to see like the diff view of what's going on, right? But what we don't have is a better UI around managing all that. Like as sucky as the terminal is, you need that foundational tool, and we
Mm-hmm.
haven't built the layers on top of it to make it useful. And this is different than the idea of your editor, right? Because your editor is one instance.
Right.
You're limiting yourself. So
Right.
yeah, we need this notion of like this is just your agent window, and you can have many agents, and maybe they're all tabs or something. I don't know, but when that UX really comes up the way it needs to, this is gonna be, like, really cool. Now, granted, it has to work, right? You have to be able to rely on the output of these agents, because if you spin up 10 of them and you're like, "Now I have 10 broken branches," you just, like, 10x your work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I just hope, like, they do act the way we want them to.
I'm also going to include this link here and you can see, I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but I think he's using Cloudflare containers, which is a new
It's a new
announcement that
thing.
Cloudflare, to do all this. And so if you look at that tweet, that's actually from a few weeks back, we've continued to make progress on it, or Peter's continued to make progress on it. But it shows like the live view of the
Nice.
output that you're getting. Yeah. Oh, such
Yeah,
a
that's cool.
I there's like a tiny, tiny part of me that hears this stuff and it like gets a little freaked out. Like, oh man, it's gonna take over our jobs. But then there's another tiny part, or not a tiny. This is the huge part. The overwhelming majority of me is just so excited where I'm like,
Yeah.
we get to be in tech and a part of all this. It's fun.
We're not there yet, but it's soon. I feel like our day to day is gonna change. Like,
Hmm.
what you open up, what you look at, how you work. Um, and the thing is, like, I feel like this is gonna all rely on systems, right? Like, okay, for instance, when I was back at Stripe and they, like, didn't really use Jira and stuff like that, how do you integrate AI with, like, just a
Mm,
YOLO Google spreadsheet? Like, you can't. You kinda have to have systems. PRDs look like this, the tickets look like this, the merge requests look like this. And when you systemize everything, you know how to go from one state to the next. If you don't have processes in place, you're going to be writing a bunch of custom like MCP stuff or whatever, or
mhm.
providing huge prompts just to get the AI to do what you want it to. And it'd be different if it's like just use the Jira MCP, use the
Yep.
GitLab MCP, and like it knows.
Yeah, it's like at that point, you don't even necessarily have to feed it. This is the ticket. Here's all the information. Here's all the context you need. It just is able to get all that by itself. Just
Yeah, and the
crazy.
good ones, like okay, so we do have, like, a Jira MCP server right now, and it's almost useless because you have to, like your prompt has to say, in this format, I want tickets from this date to this date. You can tell it's just like a very
Mhm.
primitive wrapper around the API, and it didn't even seem to do like natural language processing at all. Like you can't say like, "Give me my tickets from the last week," and they're like, "Who are you? What dates do you want?" And it's like, "You're not helping me." Um, you have to be able to like prompt it to like discern this stuff, and
Mhm.
then like it'll be really useful.
Yeah. So did you guys officially land on Cloud Code?
Everybody got to choose individually. I picked
Okay.
Claude Code.
Okay.
I when we have I think like the funds were released for that, but I haven't gotten an email saying here's your
Okay.
key or whatever. So,
Okay.
what's your experience with either of
Mhm.
them? I've
Yeah.
just like
So,
researched them. I haven't used them.
right. My daily driver has been Cursor for, um, I would almost say for a couple years now. I'm not sure if that's been that long.
Wow.
Um, but I've used it, or yeah, maybe it's been closer to a year. And I really moved over to it just because I liked the AI integration better than VS Code. It had that jump to tab thing, which I think VS Code has now, so it's not that big of a deal. So I'm a big fan of Cursor. One thing that I will say that when I made the jump, I did notice that VS Code was still better with like TypeScript stuff, whereas like Cursor was relying more on AI to guess certain imports. So it wouldn't always guess right.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
just it's gotten a lot better with all that stuff. But it was like this should be the easy part because based on TypeScript, you should be able to figure a lot of this stuff out
That's my least
programmatically.
favorite thing. Like when autocomplete, like when the AI autocomplete comes up, like Copilot autocomplete, I'm like, screw you. Like I want my TypeScript autocomplete
Mm.
first and
Mhm.
foremost. That is concrete. And
Mhm.
you can solve that at the UI layer in your editor, but
Yeah.
they like need to definitely use the language server before any AI features.
Yeah, this is gonna be taking a little bit of a rabbit trail, going down a rabbit hole, whatever the phrase is. But I've been experimenting more with Kelsey. Have you looked at that at all? It's
No.
like Prisma, except it's really TypeScript heavy. So I'd say one of the
Oh,
main differences with Prisma is that you have to generate all of your types. With
yeah.
Kelsey, it's all like TypeScript first. So it's like you just define your model and all TypeScript stuff is available, but you're writing
It's kind of
something
like the
that
drizzle
looks
approach, right? Like,
yeah, and it looks a lot more like Drizzle. It's very SQL-esque, very SQL
mm,
heavy. And so when you have those TypeScript suggestions or recommendations, it's really great. But I've also found again, like AI kind of takes over in a lot of those areas. And it's not I always as helpful as it could be because AI is stepping in like, I can guess this. And you're like, you're not guessing right. And so, but anyways, that's kind of interesting. So, Cursor is my main driver. I am using Claude as the AI behind it. I know some people have shifted over, I think, to Gemini and have like Gemini, but I'm kind of bullish on Claude. And then I have used Windsurf. I really like Windsurf when I am vibe coding. So right now I am paying for a Windsurf subscription. And so any NPM tools that I've built, that's probably my main reason for vibe coding. I've done all that with Windsurf. Now, one feature that Windsurf has that I haven't tried that I'm really interested in is Windsurf browser. And so a lot of these tools are coming up with ways, kind of like Lovable, where you run a prompt and then you click on it and say like, "Oh, will you adjust the padding or will you make it look like this?" And so it looks like Windsurf browser gives you that ability within your IDE. So you pull up the browser, you just click on it, and then you can reference that within your IDE to say, "Hey, will you make these adjustments?" So that's kind of interesting, I think. Just
that's
how
pretty
it's
cool.
kind of blending those things. And I'm really curious how like Figma comes into that picture because they have released a lot of AI features and they have Figma sites now, which I feel like is more of a competitor framework than it is really like trying to code stuff. But all that stuff's fascinating. So keep coming back to your question. Claude Code, I only ran once. And some of that was just because it was within the terminal. And I was like, I needed more feedback because it's
Yeah.
almost as if you were just getting that chat view within your IDE, like within Cursor, where it's like, I'm doing these things, I'm doing these things. And I want to be able to like stop it or have it pause. Let me provide you with feedback or say, no, do this step. And it just didn't feel like a good developer experience. Now, to your point, if you can bring that in somewhere else and put it in a different environment, that might be more interesting.
Yeah, I think there's more upside there, more potential, right? You
Yeah.
build a foundational tool, it's gonna get used everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and I
Have
think
you
there
looked
is
at
ways
Warp?
to No. I
Okay.
used to use Warp, but, I haven't looked at any of their new stuff.
Okay. So Warp just announced 2.0, and I wondered if some of it had to do with integrations with Claude Code because people were talking about coding more within Warp, which I mean, I know you can always code within a terminal. It's just not my thing. So I've wondered if that's a potential use case. I honestly, with Warp, they announced all their new AI features, and I was like, this isn't what I wanted. And so I actually, it just felt too aggressive at that point because I was like, I know what I want. Sometimes there's an obscure command that I do like your AI for, but I don't want your AI there all the time, everywhere.
Yeah.
So I actually switched back to Hyper within the last couple weeks.
Ooh, Hyper was good.
Hmm.
I don't know, I'm still on my, like, less tools, the better, and I'm kind of waiting around for, my favorite AI tool. I
Hmm.
really am gonna dive into Claude Code and see how that goes, but since then, I've just been using GitHub Copilot on the basic subscription. The auto completions work good, the chat and the agents work just fine, like, it's and I still don't rely on it that much at the end of the day. I find it gets things wrong all the time. Like, for
Hmm.
instance, I was, like, adding IDs to this list of elements, essentially, and I wanted to make sure they were all unique, and I was like, "Can you tell me if there's any, like, duplicate identifiers in there?" It couldn't do it, and I'm just like, I understand that this is an AI limitation, but at the same time, like, this is the easy shit that I need help with because there was, like, 150 of them, and I gotta, like, write a script to figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is interesting. Arvid Call, and I need to figure out what. No, he has a podcast. He runs bootstrapped.news. I feel like he's had an exit. He's kind of big in the indie SaaS world, but he had a tweet the other day, and I'm going to share it in the chat where he was saying that people that used AI, it actually took them 19% longer to complete issues. But they felt like they had moved faster. So, uh, there's a link in the tweet, and I'll also include that to the research that was done. I haven't dug too deep into the research to know, like, how big was the sample size and all the specifics of it, but I just thought that was interesting that we have this big push for AI that it's gonna make everybody more productive and people feel more productive, but they're actually slowing down, which is kinda
I think
interesting.
we'll get to the point, like, I have a much better handle on what AI is good for and what AI is not good
Mm,
for. Um, and, like, I think as, let's say, more people add rules files to their,
yeah,
editors, as you get better at prompting or set up different personalities or profiles, right? You're gonna have all that stuff kinda built in. It's like switching to a new editor. You have to get all your
yeah,
plugins, all your shortcuts, and then you're up and moving. I think we're s we're still at the point where people are, yeah, like, going crazy about it, but the results aren't 100% there. But I
yeah.
did have to write, like, a recursive loop the other day to walk through this side navigation stuff at Cloudflare, and AI just knocked it out of the park. It was great. It was exactly what I wanted. I prompted it a couple more times to make some adjustments that I would have liked to see. Did it all perfect. And then I was able to like, write tests. I didn't, like I had AI make the mock data, and then I just wrote the tests, and it worked really well, you know? So, great, like, self-contained problem to solve. But what I really wanna experiment with is, like, the ticket level work and the multi-step processes and,
Mhm.
like, how can you truly guide it to get something done?
Yeah. Stuff like well, let me ask you one more question. I think this was in our private Discord that somebody shared this AI badge. Have
Oh,
you
that
seen
was
this
me.
before?
Yeah,
You
that
were
was
the
me.
somebody.
There's 2. There's, like, AI badge and AI-label.org. Basically, you know, Cloudflare is wanting us to use more and more AI tools, and they don't have any data gathering on it. Like, sure, at some point, you could probably, like, uh, ask the platforms you're paying for to, like, give usage information and stuff, how many prompts, how many this, how many that. But what you really wanna know is, like, at the PR level, was this PR aided by AI? Was it completely done by AI? And then you can look at, like, let's say, the status of the pipelines. every single AI touch job happened to have failed pipelines, or every AI, touch job had passing pipelines, or whatever. This commit caused an issue and it was AI used. And you could like correlate, is this making us more or less effective? And so I didn't have like a really strong way to do this, but I made some pull request templates that have badges that say no AI used, some AI used, and like completely AI generated. You pick the right pull request template, go from there. We could even modify like our yarn commit script to include that type of information there. So, we're gonna get to a point where like maybe we can track some of this information. Management chain liked that idea, and we're
Mhm.
gonna mess around with it for a bit.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting too, if you go to the website, it's more within an art context of being able to know which images were
Yeah,
AI generated and things like that. My dad has been in his retirement traveling all over the country, going to all these different national parks and taking pictures. And so when we were on family vacation, my aunt was like, "Oh, have you seen this place?" And my dad was like, "Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's all AI." And part of it was because he's dug through so many galleries looking at national parks that he knows what's real and what's not. And so stuff like this is incredibly helpful when you're trying to determine what is real and what's not. It's gotten so good. So, but I love that being applied to code to know, was this AI generated or AI assisted? No shade, but it does help you understand a little bit more context around the PR.
yeah, yeah, and, I've heard that, like, as far as, art and images go, Adobe was working on this, what was it called? Like, content certification or content verification that if AI was used in it, they could, like, embed information in the file to say
Mm,
that, and then, people could read that.
yeah, that's great. Let's see. What else were we wanting to talk about? Do you want to talk about how this affects jobs, career paths, your job shift? You don't have to.
I'll talk about my job shift. I'm in office now 2 days a week, and to be honest, it's so nice.
Ugh, I'm
Like,
actually kind of jealous.
I get to see people, it's nice, like, free food and stuff. I got some buddies there, like, friends from a couple companies back, like, really cool. It's nice to just go and talk out problems and
Mhm.
and be in a place where there's some buzz. I really wanted that for this role, and it's besides the drive, which is, like, 40 minutes, I don't love
It's
that.
true.
I do love being in the office.
Yeah. I was listening to, I think it was Justin Jackson. He runs Transistor FM, and he was talking about like remote work and how hard that is if you were especially a junior trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And was just saying like he learned CSS, or his co-host learned CSS by sitting next to a buddy at work and just asking them questions. It's like you really don't have that as a junior. He was saying that, remote work is great, especially if you're a senior, because you're more optimized for just being able to do the work. But for this
Yeah.
new generation of people, developers coming into the workforce, it's like incredibly hard.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. Um, one of the downsides too is that, like, the equipment at the office is just never as good, you know? I'm
Mm,
so comfortable at this desk with all my stuff. When
yeah.
it works, freaking cameras. My Sony errored again today, and it said, like,
Ooh.
"Camera error, turn off and then on," and it stayed in that, like, state despite me powering it off and on, like, 20 times for, like, a half hour. I had to switch cameras to a backup back there, and I'm just like, "I need to buy a new one." Like, it's happened twice, and
Good
I, like,
excuse.
cannot deal with it.
So, I'll make a comment about hardware and then we can move into picks and plugs.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this weekend, I guess we had traveled and then I came back and my monitor, I love my monitor. This is going to be a little pretentious, but it's a 49-inch ultra wide. And I got it right at the
Dang.
beginning of COVID. At first, I was like, it's too big. It's too big. But then I set it up and I was like, I love it. So I just didn't want to have to buy a new one. As much as I love my monitor, I would not recommend it to somebody else because as it's gotten older, after about a year, it started to get lines that would show up when you first
Oh,
plug it
no.
in. So, like, I'll have all these horizontal green bars when I first plug it in, and then it's like it warms up and then they'll go away. And the first year it was fine. It wasn't great. And it would only show up if I had like not plugged in after a week. Now it'll show up like every day. And I just have to give it a couple minutes to go down and then it's fine. It's fine. So, but anyways, we had traveled some this weekend. I came back and I plugged it in and it would not even connect. Like I couldn't get anything to show up. And I was like, I'm gonna have to buy a new monitor. I don't have to buy a new monitor. And so I started Googling and Overflow, it's like Stack Overflow, but not for code, it's like for hardware, came up for the win. It was like unplug your monitor for 15 seconds and then plug it back in. And I probably would have been like, yeah, that's not it. Find the next thing. But somebody in the comments had said, I feel dumb upvoting this, but it's the only thing that worked. And so I was
Wow.
like, okay, I'm going to do it. And that worked. Like,
Wow.
after all this AI stuff, the thing that works is just to unplug it and plug it back in.
Um, how do you do screen sharing with it? When you share, does it share the entire ultra wide, or can you make logical separations?
Yeah, you can share like just this window, and that gets a little weird sometimes when you're trying to jump around.
Yeah.
Sometimes what I'll do is I usually have my laptop in clamshell mode off to the side, but if I'm going to be doing a lot of screen sharing, I'll pull up my laptop and I'll just share that window
Mm.
and make that my main share window
That's
because
the
it is,
drawback for me. I've
yeah,
got like a live window and like a not live window, and
yeah,
I can put whatever I want over here, but anything that goes here is live and on the air.
yeah. It is funny though when I am like or in the past when I've paired with people and they have a larger monitor and they're like, are you sure you're gonna be okay? Is this too small?" I'm like, "Nope, it's
I
great."
got it. Yeah. I,
It's funny.
for what it's worth, my Dell monitors, the Ultra Sharps, are still
Mm,
super good. Like, they're not 4K or 6K,
yeah.
but, for what they are, I've loved them, but I still keep thinking about that Apple Studio display.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I think for me with the ultra wide is I got sick of the split, of having,
Yeah.
a split right down the middle that's, like, right in front of your face. I love that everything is just entirely seamless.
Yeah, I don't know. I like compartmentalize, which is nice, browser over here, code over there or whatnot.
Mhm.
But part of me is like, just get what's the really expensive Apple one? And it's like 32
Mhm.
inches and it's real big. Uh, it's not the studio display, it's the XDR something or other, but like just one big ass monitor in the
Yeah.
middle that's like the best you can get in just focus mode, because golly, I have YouTube up over here way too much.
Well, I'll say this and we can move on. I still see pictures of people with a vertical code monitor, and I'm like, "That looks so nice."
Ah,
I
yeah,
did it a
maybe.
long time ago. It's so great for really being able to read code. You can get so much more in context, in view.
I just think it looks horrible, and then I have to
You
offset my
do?
camera, change all my lights, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 it's just not
Don't
the
do
place
it.
for me."
Not for you. All right, well, something new I learned about you, Brad. No
Yeah,
vertical
yeah,
no vertical monitor
no
for
vertical
you.
monitors. That's
But
like
let's
next
move.
level hardcore programmer, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. That's to me, that's like pull out your Vim, your Emacs.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah, if it's not, like, all green, that
Uh-huh.
theme doesn't count.
Yep. Well, let's move into the next segment of the show, which is our picks and plugs, where we pick something that we like and we plug something generally that we've worked on. So, Brad, do you have any picks and plugs? Oh, you're gonna reach for something.
Okay, um, so we just got back from vacation, it was awesome. Uh, we in Playa del Carmen, we went to this place because we said, like, "Let's party a little bit," like, back when we were kids. We went to this place and we were up until 4 in the morning
What?
partying. It was awesome. Uh, this place is called Coco Bongos.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that the mask?
The Mask, but this place is insane. Like, you pay for your tickets and they just give you drinks all night long, like,
That's
all
awesome.
included. They, like,
Uh-huh.
bring you french fries and hamburgers so that you can, like, get some carbs in you to keep drinking, and then they just do this show that's, like, music and dancing and, like, they run around with, like, bottles of tequila and pour it in your mouth and, like, uh there was like Michael Jackson impersonators and like astronauts flying around the room, like
What?
on the ceiling and stuff. Like there was confetti dropping from the ceiling, smoke, balloons you're waving around, multicolored like neon. Like it was the craziest thing we'd ever seen. And like it kept us going until 4 in the morning. No joke. So Coco Bongo. It's in Cancun and Playa del Carmen. If you ever get a chance to go, it's like better than a Vegas show.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
But you gotta be
Uh,
ready for the party environment. It is not, it's like, it's not PG. Let's put it that way.
yeah. What plugs do you have?
Um, geez, I have not touched anything outside of work, so I'll just plug Cloudflare. Check out some of the AI stuff that we're doing. Go build an MCP server. And if you hate the side navigation in the dashboard, tweet at me because we're literally rebuilding it right now, and we're taking, feedback.
Awesome. I
What you
am
got?
going to plug, I found a new YouTube channel, which I think I've just been living under a rock. This guy has 20 million followers. His name
Whoa,
is, let me make sure I get his last name right. Ryan Trahan. You heard of
never
him?
heard of it.
So he is in the middle. Okay, I found him because he was just in an interview with Colin and Samir, and he is currently in the middle of a series called I Visited 50 States in 50 Days. And he is on day 36 right now, but he's going, like the name suggests, every single state. The interview itself with Colin Samir was super good. I'll include a link to that in the show notes. But I started going through his stuff and it's so just inspiring and approachable. So I guess that was about a year and a half ago. I was making daily shorts just about things that I was doing. My kids loved them because I would record them and then edit them when they went to bed and they'd wake up and we'd watch them together, and just has me feeling like I want to do something like this again. So I've been making more shorts lately for Redwood, which is also fun just to have that kind of fit into tech and the work that I'm doing. But I've been thinking a lot about bringing that stuff back and just finding ways to be creative in the work that I'm doing, or, just life stuff. So
That's
it's a
awesome.
good.
All of your videos are like super good.
Oh, thanks. Well, there's a new shareware.dev one coming out this afternoon. So,
Nice.
um, anyway,
And this channel looks awesome. Like
yeah.
everything looks interesting and sparks your curiosity, and as long as the guy's like good to watch,
Yeah.
everything
So
is
he's
great.
he's traveling around with his wife, and I watched. So the Colin and Samir episode is really interesting because he talks a little bit about his process, and they started off and they asked him, they're like, "Are you making the same video every day?" Because there's a lot of structure elements to his days that are similar. But he was talking about, like, how are you able to stay creative when you're like, a huge chunk of my day is driving. Like, we're driving
Yeah.
7 or 8 hours to get to the next state, and that kind of thing. And part of this too, they talked about this in the interview, is that he's raising money for St. Jude, and he's already
Nice.
raised $3 million. And if he hits certain checkpoints, he has this wheel of doom that they have to spin, and that kind of throws a kink into whatever day's plan. So I love this like gamified feature of their day, and how it's almost incorporating this live element of, like, if you want to interact with them and send them
Wow.
a donation and like kind of change the agenda for the day, you can do that with your donations. So yeah, it's all really cool stuff. So check it
Yeah, even
out.
his banner on his YouTube channel is like updating, day
Mhm.
35, this much raised, what states
4 million
has
now.
he's been to. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. And he has, yeah, so that image in the header, he was saying that they created all the graphics and all the thumbnails before he left. And he has 2 guys that are, I guess, at normal desks, that are editing all of his footage. So he uploads it at night, and then I don't know if they're just editing it overnight or if that's like the following day's release or how that works. But yeah, just really well done.
Yeah, super cool.
So check that out, Ryan Trahan. And then for my plug, I'm going to plug, kind of like you, plug Redwood SDK, but check out the shareware.dev stuff since that is launching today. So pretty cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. It's been fun to start recording again. If you are listening in your podcatcher of choice after the fact, please leave a rating and review. That helps other people find the show and helps us bring on great sponsors and guests. So until then, that's all we got. All right. Oh, man. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it so I can send out some announcement tweets.
It's lunchtime, starving, and like I feel like I need a nap after 2 podcasts today.
Oh, yeah, shoot. All right. Bye, everybody.
See y'all.